Yo, whatever happened to that dream that God put in us? You know, before the world told you what you wanted to be and what you needed to do to be successful.
Cornbread.
Before you saw somebody else do it and said, you know what, I need money, I'ma do that. Before you knew what money was. Like, what did you want to be? And why'd you let it go? Come on.
If you're getting sick of running and tired of the hustling, go for it. I tell them go for it. You got a dream that you're chasing. Well, I think you can make it. You should go for it. I tell them go for it. Follow your dream and leave the game, please. Don't be ashamed. Anyone can change. Oh, there's a better way. There's a better way. Shorty, there's a better way. There's a better way.
Just dedicated to the hustler that's sick of hustling. But won't nobody in the circle tell him give it up then. Get a new group that wanna see you shoot for the stars and 2 moons. Let them follow what you do. Hustling wasn't the plan, I know. Mother was struggling, Pops wasn't the man, I know. But even though your father was not home.
Again, thank you, Your Honor. I greatly appreciate the opportunity to be here today. It's a privilege and an honor to stand before you guys, to know the opportunities that you guys have ahead of you. As Judge Lloyd just spoke about, the future has no limits for you guys, and today I stand up here to testify to you at the life that I've been able to accomplish, things that I've been able to accomplish over the last 10 years. As Judge Lloyd mentioned, I marched in here 10 years ago in fatigue through the Oakland County Sheriff's Department boot camp. You might ask me, well, why would I have to come in under Oakland County? Because at that time I was on probation in 4 different cities, 8 misdemeanors and a felony between the ages of 17 and 19. And I walked in here, you know, I had gotten into a drunk driving accident. I almost lost my life, and I thank God that I actually made it through, because most of us know people that we ran with on the streets and that we used with and that we hung with aren't here today. So I just want to acknowledge you guys, that you guys literally are blessed to be able to sit here, because there were so many people that weren't able to make it into Judge Lloyd's courtroom. And as I walked in this courtroom, I had made a decision several months previous that I was going to change my life. I had realized that, you know, I grew up in a decent home. I was an honor roll student, but like a lot of us at a young age, we got distracted, we got tempted, we got pulled off track, and a lot of things began to, cause us to want to fit in, to want to do things other people were doing, to want to be a part of other crowds. Because come on, how many of us when we were 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years old thought that we'd be using, that we'd be getting high, that we'd be giving our bodies away, that we'd be doing the things that all of a sudden as we got older that we would be doing? But guess what? We got to a point and realized that we were almost in bondage and we were stuck, and we didn't know how to get out. And at 19 years old, I stand here today, 10 years later, I'm 29 years old. And I remember walking in this courtroom, and it's amazing how, you talked about divine intervention. This is a divine intervention for you guys, because I remember when I first caught the case here, it was a drunk driving. I mean, I was still drunk 2 days later. Guys could still smell the alcohol on me. I blew a .21. Smashed my mom's car onto 75. Already on probation, was on a restricted license. But see, I was a rebel without a cause. I was heading towards death, because that thing had me gripped. It had me in bondage, and it was leading me down the path of destruction and ultimately almost death. And I remember waking up in that jail saying, God, if you allow me to get out of this one, if you allow me, I should have been held with a major, bond, or I just knew that I was in trouble because of my past record. This was my second drunk driving. By 19, second drunk driving, 3 minor in possession, sold ecstasy to an undercover cop out in Oakland County. Minor in possessions, drunken disorderlies. I was hit. I was a mess. I wasn't a bad person, but drugs and alcohol got a hold of me, and it caused destruction in my life. And I remember crying out to the Lord. I said, Lord, if you allow me to get out of here, I will change my life and I will serve you. And the judge said, you know what? You're released without bond. I'm like, wow. What did I do? I was serious. He honored my request, and I was going to honor my word. And that day, I jumped on a bus, because I burnt all my bridges. I didn't have nobody to come down here and get me. How many of us burnt bridges, up until starting to get our life? Pretty much all of us, right? I said, I'm serious about this thing. And I remember being intoxicated. The state police picked me up. I don't even know where I was. I think I was on the precinct over by Nevada. And I remember my mom saying, you ain't coming home. You ain't coming home. You just wrecked my car. You just did this and that. I thought you were serious about turning things around. You're done. And that broke her heart to see her son having to go through what I went through. But it was because of my mom's prayers and her believing in me that allowed her to cut that thing off for me to have to make the decision, because people can't make us want to get ourselves together. It's like the Honorable Judge just said, we have to make a choice and a decision to change our lives. It has to be us. Nobody can make us choose to change our lives. My mom said, you need to check yourself into the Grace Centers of Hope, which is the Pontiac Rescue Mission up on East Huron. 19 years old. I said, I'm going. Why? Because I had seen the path of destruction. And I realized that if I didn't get my life together, it was about to be over. I was either going to prison or my life was going to be taken. And I realized I had enough sense at 19. I said, you know what? This isn't for me. And I went and checked myself into that treatment center. And I stayed there for 6 months, and that's where I built my relationship with the Lord. And I realized that there was more to life than living with drugs and with alcohol and allowing chains and bondage and things to set me back. When I was in high school, I didn't make it. I didn't graduate. I dropped out as an honor student. My grandfather was an attorney in Ypsilanti. He said, listen, son, if you graduate and you go to college, I will give you my law firm. But he said there's only one condition: you cannot get a felony. So what did I do? I went out and got a felony. I thought I had tossed my future out the window. But I realized that God had a different plan for me. After coming out of the drug treatment program, I still had to deal with my violation of probation out in Oakland County. And I think his name was Judge Stephen something. He was I went before the worst judge in Oakland County. I mean, he literally stood up in the courtroom. My mom and my grandma were crying in the background. I had already made a choice to change, but you still gotta, even though you change, we still have consequences to our actions, okay? Even years later, I lost my license for 5 years, just got it back 5 years ago, okay? But I didn't let that hold me down, and I'll get to that in a minute. But I went before Judge Andrews, Judge Stephen Andrews. He is no joke. I'll tell you right now, he stood up and he looked at me, yelling at me, you ain't serious. You're going to jail. Don't cry for him. To my mom and my grandma, don't cry for him. He's nothing but a troublemaker. You're going to jail. 6 months, Oakland County. I'm like, ah. And then my court-appointed attorney leaned over to me and he says that they got a boot camp program. It's an 8-week boot camp program, and only 1 out of 2 people make it through. It's one of the hardest boot camp programs in the country. I said, I'm willing to do whatever. I checked myself into that boot camp program. And again, I had already made a decision to change, but I still had to go through the consequences of my actions. Went through this boot camp program. It was one of the toughest things that I ever experienced. I'm talking waking up at 3 in the morning, crawling in the mud. I mean, it was crazy. And they beat you down. Why? So that they could build you back up. And I was only 19 years old. I'm in there with grown men, black, white, Asian, Caucasian. It don't matter, because the enemy that comes against us is no respecter of person. He ain't a respecter of black. He ain't a respecter of white. He ain't a respecter of anything. He's out to steal, kill, and destroy. And he'll do it at all costs. He don't care what hood you're from, what city you're from. It don't matter. It don't matter where you're from. And see, it's another deception that we think, oh, he can't relate to me. Well, guess what? People in the suburbs are just as messed up as people in the city. It don't matter. People out in the rich parts of Oakland County or wherever, just as messed up. Why? Because we're all human. We're no different. Our skin color may be different. Our background may be different. But you know what? We all face a lot of the same things, okay? So I march in here to Judge Lloyd's courtroom, and this is how it first went down. And this was God's divine intervention for me. I was initially, I don't even know if you know this, Judge Lloyd, there was a different judge that I was supposed to go through. And then all of a sudden they said, your case has been postponed because you're no longer going in front of that judge. We're going to have you go in front of this judge. Right? And here I am. I'm walking through, you can testify, they marched me in here. I'm talking about, I couldn't even look around. I had to stand position of attention in my boot camp gear. And they told me when to speak. They told me what to do. Why? Because if I violated that 8-week program, I'm going back to Oakland County for 6 months. But if I graduated in 8 weeks, they were allowing me to graduate and move on. And I seen people leave that program left and right. Why? Because they couldn't handle it. They cracked, they gave up. Because, I mean, they literally break you down. And because of my commitment to that thing, they actually graduated me Distinguished Honor Grad, where I was overseeing 2 different platoons of 50 prisoners, older than me, younger than me, as the top graduate, because I made a decision that I was going to change. That I was going to change. And I'm going to talk to you guys about in a minute that nothing or nobody can stop you in what you want to accomplish in life. Nothing but you. But you. I walked through those same doors, and it's so funny because when I walked in the other day, I looked at this brother right here, and this was my court-appointed attorney. You can't forget this guy. He's an amazing guy. And I remember he was telling me, he's like, probation department wants to put you in jail. 90 days. 90 days. Because they looked at my record and they said, like Judge Lloyd, he has no future, he has no hope. But Judge Lloyd said, I see something in you. And I believe it was she seen the Lord in me that I truly was making a decision to change my life. And she says, you know what? I ain't putting you in jail. I'm going to give you a chance. And I'm going to give you an opportunity. And I want you guys right now to literally stand to your feet and thank Judge Lloyd for giving you guys the opportunity that you guys. Like it was a divine intervention for me to walk through those doors. It was a divine intervention for every one of you guys to walk through those doors. To be sitting here today, you know what? I didn't graduate high school. And that was one of the things that really, bothered me for a long time because I felt like I missed out. But guess what? When I graduated from that boot camp program and I could stand there before the people that cared about me and loved me, it gave me literally that feeling of what I had missed graduating high school. And I know each one of you guys feel that today because it's not to be taken lightly. It's not to be taken lightly. And I just personally want to congratulate you guys because I'm sure there's people that started out in this program with you that aren't here today. Just as the judge said, 2 people, whether it was from this class or another, didn't make it. They didn't make it. They're still deceived. They're still bound. Thinking I'm not ready yet. Well, guess what? Tomorrow may not come. Today may be your last sniff. It may be your last This is for real. This ain't no joke. This is my brother Sean. Not my real brother, but he's my brother.
How y'all doing today?
And we met at 12 years old, and all the dirt that I did, he was by my side. Right by my side. 17 years, we've been like this. And because of my life changing, God was able to use me to help lead him down a path. And now we're both walking in success and victory.
Amen.
But I want to let you guys know something that statistics say. Based on the statistics that Judge Lloyd just talked about, based on the statistics of life when it comes to drugs and alcohol, some of you, based on statistics, are not going to make it. Some of you guys are going to go back on the streets. Some of you guys, I'm not saying you are, but statistics say some of you are going to drink. Some of you are going to go back to using drugs. Some of you are going to go back to selling drugs. But I'm here to speak over you today that not one of you guys are going to be a statistic.
Right.
Amen.
You guys are going to go back to the streets. Why? Because I was a statistic. They said that I was going to be a statistic. But as Judge Lloyd said, that there's certain things that if you apply, can you pass this out, or can these be passed out? The main topic that I want to go over real quick, and I know there's more to this graduation, so I want to not take all your time, but 5 keys to sustainable success. 5 keys to sustainable success in your life. Because I'm telling you, the fast life is a deception. It's a deception. It's something that when we were younger, we thought was cool. We wanted to be like that dude down on the block. We wanted to be like that sister down on the street looking all fly and cute. We wanted to be like the guy riding on 22s, right? We wanted what we saw, but guess what? It's not reality. I was sucked in. And it almost took my life, like I'm sure it almost took some of yours. And there's so many people that being